begin the debate, great. Before we pop off, do me a favor and like the video if you enjoy it, okay? Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more black culture commentary to come, I promise. Today, we talk Dave Chappelle and The Closure. Let's zoom in. Alright, so just a little summary of what's going on. The Closure came out last week. Today's Tuesday. Yesterday was Monday, and all this stuff came out all over the net. It's going nuts. They trying to cancel my man Dave. We not having it. Alright. There was rumors of Netflix possibly pulling down the special. It's called The Closure. And then yesterday, the CEO came out and said there will be no such thing. So kindly take several seats. Well, a lot of people have taken the stance that his views and his jokes were not malicious. He used satire to make a point about humanity and about commonality amongst all protected groups. So you either get that or you don't. Obviously, people don't like getting made fun of, but that's what comedians do. They make fun of people. If you don't like it, don't listen. You wouldn't watch a show, a movie called Crazy Asians or whatever if you don't want to see Asians stereotyped in Hollywood. Like, if you know what I'm saying, you kind of you understand what's gonna happen and the gist of it, and then you just avoid it because you're like, nah, that's not my cup of tea. But you know, basically what happened was the National Black Justice Coalition has called on Netflix to remove The Closer, Dave Chappelle's controversial stand-up special that has been deemed transphobic by them, not by the world. Immediately after its release on Tuesday, The Closer began receiving backlash over a series of anti-trans comments from the 48-year-old comedian. At one point during the gig, Chappelle declares himself a TERF, trans exclusionary radical feminist, is what TERF stands for, and expresses support for J.K. Rowling, who got dragged on Twitter. She is the famed author of the Harry Potter books. She claims trans women posed a threat to those who were assigned female at birth. Quote, "It is deeply disappointing that Netflix allowed Dave Chappelle's lazy and hostile transphobia and homophobia to air on this platform." That is what the National Black Justice Coalition Executive Director David Johns, who we've never heard of these people before, said in a statement to Deadline. Okay, so glad also that GLAAD, that group, gays, lesbians, and something, also weighed in on the controversy Wednesday, praising both critics and viewers who have publicly slammed Chappelle. Okay, let's see. In a company memo sent Friday, Sarandos said Netflix has determined that Chappelle's The Closer isn't designed to incite hate or violence, and shared his thoughts on how, in his view, artistic freedom, quote unquote, is measured by a different standard in the world of stand-up comedy. Quote, several of you have also asked where we draw the line on hate, quote unquote. Sarandos wrote in the memo, available to read in full online on Variety's website. Quote, "We don't allow titles Netflix that are designed to incite hate or violence, and we don't believe The Closer crosses that line. I recognize, however, that distinguishing between commentary and harm is hard, especially with stand-up comedy, which exists to push boundaries. Some people find the art of stand-up to be mean-spirited, but our members enjoy it, and it's an important part of our content offering," quote unquote. So this is what I was thinking yesterday when I read this comment before I read the whole thing, when I just read the part where he said Dave Chappelle is not inciting violence and it's not malicious, I was like, look, the amount of controversy and attention this thing is getting, I'm pretty sure views of the special have gone up. So if the ratings have gone up and people are signing up to Netflix just so they could see this, why would Netflix take it down? So I kind of knew that once the CEO came out and declared and put his foot down and said, shut the F up, the special was not going anywhere. I knew that the special had to have been doing well in order for him to have the confidence to come out and say the Dave Chappelle's special is staying up. And that confidence must have come from people voting with their views, people voting with their eyeballs. If no one was watching it, I guarantee you they would have took it down and said, oh, we apologize, we were sorry, we did not know that Dave was a nutcase. Like, they would have just, but I'm sure the controversy is actually pushing views and making people watch even more. And Dave Chappelle knew that. That's like, you don't even have to, that's instant marketing, advertising. You don't need, just push a few buttons, get some people upset, but be responsible with your platform. And yes, you will, for one, you'll go down in history, right? Because 10 years, 20 years from now, most likely the conversation will have been pushed forward and they're going to bookmark this moment in history as one of the catalysts to push the conversation forward. And two, the ratings are going to go up. Like, look at Netflix stock is at all-time highs now because of Squid Games and this the closer special attention that they're getting. So Joe Budden and Ish and Ice and Parks, the whole podcast, they gave their opinions on the show, on the special. And so just to break it down one by one, here's how I see it. So, starting with Parks. So I agree with Parks. Parks felt that Dave spent a lot of time addressing the backlash he's gotten over the years about his LGBTQ plus jokes. He took out real time to address all of the negative comments that he's been getting in online and in real life about his comments towards that community. So that is like that, he made a point to do that, right? And I think it was smart for him to show vulnerability, admit initial ignorance to that community and what they deemed as negative slurs, and to then also explain confusion, because he was confused at people, at members of the gay, lesbian, and trans community seeing him in public and talking shit, booing him, heckling him. He was actually confused because he was like, "What? I'm making fun of everybody like comedians do. Like, what am I saying that's so below the belt or over the line?" He was really confused. And he also said that he was sad because he was like, what am I saying that's so bad? Like, I don't hate you guys, He's been adding that element into his stand-up for almost a decade. And he's been getting hate for it from those community members during that time. So I think it was funny that he led us into the mind of a comedian dealing with a society that's changing around him. Naturally, he's going to find the humor in everything. So he's like talking about the guy who walked up, he's talking about the trans who walked up to the urinal in the bathroom next to him, and it was a woman, looked like a woman, but then he had a penis, and he said he would have been more he would have been more comfortable if it was actually a guy who backed up to the urinal and started pissing out his ass. So, you know, he's showing you how his goofy mind works, which is why he's such a great comedian, because he has a knack for finding the humor in all these weird and normal life situations. So he never wanted to hit us over the head with preaching or with teaching. You know, he still had to keep it light, keep it funny, keep it entertained. Like, okay, when you walk into this room, you are allowed to laugh at things that we wouldn't laugh at outside of this room. It's just like when you walk into a movie theater and you see a rape scene. You guys all paid to go see a rape scene, and we allow that because it's part of art, and it's art made to teach and to make a point. It's not just it's not like rape porn, you know? It's a movie that is trying to show you what's going on in the world and how to fix it, or whether it needs to be fixed, or where it's happening. Like, when the movies still come out where like little kids get kidnapped and people get killed and stuff like that, and we don't stop the movies. So you're suspending reality for the time being to watch this work of performing art. So stand-up comedy is the same thing. Boom. He felt like Dave intentionally pressed buttons to force America to be emotionally charged enough to start an open dialogue about the hypocrisy, the irony, and the Travis Sam mockery going on right under our noses. It was really smart for him to use the synopsis or the movie idea called Space Jews, where he kept, dropping that Easter egg in, throughout the special. And it was basically he used an allegory to make that point. And basically I took away that he was trying to show us what could happen if we don't pay attention to history repeating itself. And I'll just leave it at that. Like, I'll let you watch the show, watch the special yourself to see. But it's like, if it goes over, it's gonna go over certain people's head if they're not educated in world history or in Middle East history. I think that was smart and clever to do that without bashing anyone, without criticizing anyone, but just showing you the parallels between this made up movie idea or made up book, and then juxtapose it with what we've seen in reality, in real life. There's certain things in life that we're not allowed to criticize for whatever reason, but we all, in the back of our minds, we all know that it's not right, But anyways, it was really funny. He warned us early in the show that his first few cringeworthy jokes were only a taste of what was to come. So people were kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. You're trying to make a point. You're not just being reckless. You're trying to make a point that you're going to touch on subjects in a comedic way that we all know in the back of our mind we need to talk about, but we don't want to talk about because no one wants to get canceled or be seen as insensitive or judgmental. But I'm going to go there. Like, I'm gonna be the first over the hill to do it because someone has to do it. If just someone who isn't trained says something, they're gonna get canceled, basically. So Ice felt that Dave has a special talent for making his audience think they're going where they want to go. Basically, only to end up exactly where he wanted to go all along. And I think it's smart to have a moral to all of his stories in a way that educated the viewer without preaching or whining to him. It was so funny that he had multiple stories of LGBTQ plus supporters pulling up on him, banging on him, cussing him out. You know what I'm saying? Talking shit, setting him up, acting like his friend, only to throw a picture in his face that they have a relative who's a transgender, and he's like walking through, he's going to stand-up comedy shows, and he's walking around town like with his head on swivel because he thinks the LGBTQ plus community is coming to get him. So yeah, and they want smoke with him. Even though they've never actually studied his material or had a conversation with him. So he roasted all of them just like he would roast anybody else. Talking about the muscular jaw, Joe Rogan jaw, Adam's apples, and all kinds of mess, because that's what he does. He makes jokes about life and about the things in life, just like he would do any other member of society. Like, come on. And then Joe felt like, when Joe talked about his sentiment, he felt like Dave insists on exercising the right to tell jokes like they used to be told before cancel culture took over America. He invoking the classic golden era of stand-up comedy. That was important to him. He usually does the cigarette smoking indoors just to make that point, but he didn't do it this time. But he did it on SNL. Everyone and almost everything is fair game when you're a stand-up comedy, and that's how it used to be. And Dave insists that as a culture, as a society, we actually need that. We need to have that safe space, because a lot of learning goes on and a lot of healing goes on through comedy. So you can't, if you take away comedy, if you strap up comedy, if you choke up comedy, like I think it was smart to show us the outrage hierarchy that exists in our society, the way the LGBTQ plus community has sped to the front of the equal rights, social justice, quote unquote, line, and made crazy progress, while black men and women have been fighting for 300-400 years just to get to where we are. It only took LGBTQ plus 50 years, 40 years. And that is the point that Dave was trying to make. And it was unapologetic about making that point and fighting for the black community. And people from the LGBTQ community were telling him he was punching down, and he says who? Like, basically, like, who says, like, who gets to say which fight for equal rights is higher or more important than the other one? Like, but that's the way that they used to criticize him. I also think it was smart how Dave highlighted the commonality that all members of protected groups have. Like, everyone who has every downtrodden or every oppressed or marginalized group goes through basically the same things, as far as looking at the elite class and wanting to be treated as equal. So instead of us fighting each other amongst protected groups, we should be we should be teaming up. If anything, we should be helping each other. But I think it was funny how Dave showed the hypocrisy of the baby getting more flack for his tasteless ad-libs at the concert than the flack he received for killing another black man in Walmart. Like, that was, like, no one could deny that. Even though in the baby's defense, he killed the man in self-defense. but it didn't get any attention from the LGBTQ community in the same manner that the baby's comments did. So it's basically like, okay, they just, they basically saying they're picking and choosing when they're going to be mad based off of their feelings getting hurt. And your feelings getting hurt isn't a good enough reason to cancel someone and, like Dave Chappelle said, take away their livelihood, because taking away a man's livelihood is akin to killing him, especially in this society, a patriarchal society. The man is brought up from a young age to feel the pressures and feel the responsibility of earning a living for his family. And then you want to take that away because he hurt your feelings. Like there's a level of extremity to that, extremeness to that, if that's a word, that Dave is not feeling. He mentioned getting yelled at by a white transgender woman who complained about their community suffering for decades, but she was with 2 gay black men. So imagine how long their community had been suffering. And Dave looked at them like, anything y'all want to add here? Like, you guys want to jump in on this and remind her that your community, my community, decades? How about eons? As in hundreds of years. But I digress. So all in all, I agree with them, with the Chappelle. I agree with Joe Budden Podcast crew. The whole Joe Budden Podcast crew came through with the ill, breakdown and synopsis, and I love their summary and their opinions on the special. I feel like they got it right. I feel like this is going to be a long fight. And at some point, people are going to have to come to the table and just talk it out, So yeah, that's it. All right, y'all, I'm out. Please, once again, like the video, subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get to 100 subscriptions. Comment below. Let me know what you think of my synopsis, what you think about. Let me know what you think about my summary, my opinion, my breakdown on The Closer by Dave Chappelle. And also, if you disagree, put it in the comments. And I'll see you next time. No matter what, I'm always going to entertain and educate. I'm out.